Welcome to Smart Remarks, where it's all about personal responsibility for some. So as the economy continues to sputter along, everyone's still trying to figure out just what happened. We got a congressional bipartisan panel that's coming up with a report on the cause of the financial crisis. But this week we learned that the 4 Republican members of the panel, apparently concerned the final report wasn't going to be enough of a whitewash, or at least not their kind of whitewash, have broken away and they're going to issue their own report. If you watch Fox News or listen to Rush Limbaugh, you've already got a good idea of what's going to be in it. The Huffington Post tells us this week that, quote, the GOP report will likely focus on the explosive growth of subprime mortgages and the heavy role played by the federal government in pushing mortgage giants Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to purchase and insure them. They'll also likely focus on the Community Reinvestment Act, the 1977 law to encourage banks to lend to underserved communities. See, it's all the fault of the poor people who are probably black or Hispanic. Them and the government that empowered them are responsible for this crisis. It's an outrage! And it's also a bunch of bunk. Look, I'll grant you that government policy created the incentive for banks to come up with financial weapons of mass destruction like ninja loans, no income, no jobs, no assets. Government clearly wanted to encourage home ownership for a variety of reasons. But if you listen to your friendly neighborhood right-winger, you get the idea that government had the poor bankers by the arm, forcing good and sober lenders to make bad decisions and push through risky loans. No, it's not that we wanted to do it. Government's forcing us. Do you think that's the case? Or do you think maybe the banks took the ball and ran with it? Do you think organizations like Countrywide Financial saw a sterling opportunity to make huge piles of money by pushing through as many risky loans as possible? No income, no problem. The government's got our back, so we can be as irresponsible as we like. And they were. Government incentivized greed, sure, but the GOP wants to blame only government or the greedy buyers rather than the greedy lenders. The party of personal responsibility insists that the financial industry bears no personal responsibility for the crisis whatsoever. It's not the bank's fault. They were merely responding to incentives, sort of like a shark responds to blood in the water. You can't blame the shark. Yes, we can, and yes, we must. But understand that with our new Republican overlords in office, we won't. The Huffington Post tells us, in fact, that these 4 Republicans insisted that the words Wall Street and deregulation not be mentioned in the report. They don't even want to hear about it. And I tell you what, I bet you in their Fox News-approved report, those words won't be mentioned. And heaping all the blame on the poor people and the government, the Republican Party ensures that the institutionalized greed at the heart of this crisis not only won't be punished, it will, in fact, be rewarded. And that's one way to make sure that the crisis happens all over again.
It was Countrywide that loaned Paula Taylor nearly $260,000 to buy a condo, even though she was clearly unqualified. So what was the incentive? Well, first, salesmen were paid commissions for every loan they wrote, and the lending companies collected fees. But there was a much bigger incentive to make as many loans as possible. A pot of gold overflowing with riches, a scheme powered by some of the biggest financial institutions on Wall Street. But it was all destined to fail.